Next generation ideas.
Next generation ideas.
Next generation ideas. Hey, XXXL crew, we are back with our third installment of the Gen Triple XL podcast series. This week we've got an interview for you with two designers, Max and David. The interview is run by Agle, who is the founder of Caroline, and I'm really excited for you to meet her this week. We've set up the Gen Triple XL podcast series together to uncover ideas for people who pave the future. We'll be sharing the best ideas from the world of brands, design, Web3 and our society in general to ignite your inspiration, expand your horizons and enable you to always be ahead of the crowd. Last time you heard one of our rewinds, which are monthly releases where we look back at the most cutting edge and fascinating ideas from that month. We're going to be keeping this series fresh and dynamic, and if you think there's any breakthrough ideas that we've missed, or designers, thinkers, creators that you'd love to hear an interview from, then please get in touch. We love to hear from you guys. So enjoy the interview this week. Really excited for you guys to hear from Max and David. This is Gen XXXL. Stay on the beat with us.
Hi guys, I'm very excited to introduce you to David and Max, two designers who are working together and experimenting with augmented reality, art and design. So it's very exciting. David is a graphic and type designer from Switzerland. He's currently based in Lisbon, and Max is a graphic designer and art director based in Berlin. He's also the co-founder of New Standard Studio, a sustainable and environmentally conscious communications design studio. So we featured their work in the Style Cuts Volume 2, and today I'm very excited to share with you the talk that we had about their work. So I'm sure that you will enjoy this talk and let us know what you think, and let's dive in. Would you mind introducing yourself, and then we'll jump into questions.
Yeah, so I'm David. I am Swiss and Portuguese, but I live in Lisbon. I studied in Switzerland, in Bern, and I've been living in Lisbon since I finished university. I came back to Lisbon. I think a few months after I was done, I saw that I was looking for work, and I was sending out applications to places here in Lisbon, and also seeing if my favorite studios had any openings or stuff like that, but I didn't have any luck. And then one day I saw that Max posted a story on Instagram. He was looking for somebody to help him with his work part-time. And so I sent him my website and a letter saying that I was looking for work and I didn't have anything. And then it worked out. And then we started developing some projects together. And that was more than 2 years ago now. Time goes by so fast.
Totally, yeah. Well, it was love at first sight. David sent me his portfolio, and I had a look, and I was like, oh, there are actually quite a lot of works where I wish I would have done that. So I think that's a big compliment from designer to designer. So we decided to work together. And it's kind of a really smooth collaboration where I think we both managed to kind of play our strengths and our expertise. So we usually split the workload so that basically everybody, we both get out what we want by at the same time learning more in our fields So also the projects are quite diverse, from books to websites to anything printed, anything digital, to an AR app we did last year. So I think we're definitely crossing boundaries, crossing media, which is quite fun, and lots of things we do for the first time. But I think it's exactly this kind of curiosity or also mentality that then brings out that really strong project.
And I saw from your portfolio that especially David, you are very focused on typography, right? Is that sort of something that you it's like your personal passion, or you as both as duet as well, kind of use typography, and that's one of the interests and passions that you integrate into project?
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of depends what you mean. If you mean typography, just working with type-based solutions for design, or really type design, or both. But yeah, for sure, I always look to any design that I have, fall in my lap. Always, my first instinct is always to work with typography, and that's maybe because I studied in Switzerland, or maybe it's just a natural impulse.
I sometimes have to push him to use more than just typography.
Right.
So it's a personal thing.
Yeah. But it kind of works out in the end.
Okay.
Yeah. So also that like AR project, for example, was actually kind of interesting, because first we were only doing a record artwork for like a vinyl, and then
that's the
we started
word,
very typography heavy, and it was only typo, and then we were at some point had the idea to basically bring in an artist I know who's also based in Berlin, and then this 3D artist basically jumped on the project and didn't only create one artwork, but basically a loop, a 3D model that was like constantly changing and evolving and transforming. And from that, we basically then created this AR app, which was more or less a digital version of the vinyl in the end. So there was a booklet which you could scan with your phone, and it would trigger the like both sound and AR. And I think that was kind of a fruitful collaboration for everybody involved. It wasn't just us, it was also the artist. There was this AR studio we worked together. Of course, there was the music producer, and like so many people involved. And I think it's especially this kind of collaborative project where we are already like very used to collaborate. But like bringing in more people is even like bringing the projects to the next level as well.
Yes, I love the way you really mix the media and with that sort of unusual style, really like 3D, right, work. It's just really so original and so futuristic. So I really love that and sort of cosmic feel that it has. Could you tell a little bit about the artist itself, like where the inspiration came for this work? Why did you choose to mix that particular media?
I mean, first of all, I know the artist, so I'm probably a bit biased, but he's doing 3D scans of nature. So he was in the Amazon forest, I think last year, 2 years ago, and basically then scanned the surroundings, scanned plants and other objects in nature. And then basically he's like kind of modifying them in his, with 3D software, CGI. And from that, these kind of weird objects or weird shapes or sculptures evolved. And it's kind of the whole music project itself is quite conceptual. So to pair the really minimal graphic design or typography that is then again used in a kind of bold way, to pair this with the this 3D point dot clouds was in our view an interesting kind of contrast.
Very interesting. So what was the feedback that you got about it, about the work from the people?
It was quite good, actually. I mean, I would say like AR apps are still quite a new thing.
Yes.
And if they're done, they're often done in a, let's say, visually poor way, because of course there's still like a lot of technical limitations. And we unfortunately also experienced that, because actually the 3D models would be super complex and like with a lot of dots and points. So we really had to simplify all that to make it work on phones and also older phones. But I think the experience is still quite unique, I would say, especially how sound and movement or like the 3D model works together, how you can move around, how you can move through the 3D animation, all while it's moving, depending on the sound actually. And we submitted it to a few awards, and we also got some awards for it. So that's kind of probably the official feedback. But we're quite happy with it.
Great, wonderful. It's great when we can push the boundaries, right, of the media we are using, and the projects like that are always so fulfilling and rewarding, isn't it?
And super rare as well, I think. It was the first time that I had ever worked on a project where I was told, just what would you do if you could? Don't think about budget, don't think about any limitations, we can deal with that later. Just think about what would be your dream project. And that's something that's obviously not very common and not always possible, or very rarely possible. And so that's just about finding or creating the space for yourself in Max's case, to have that sort of project, and then to have that sort of freedom as well working within that project. So that's a really cool thing to be a part of.
Okay, interesting. So Max, how did you get into design? We talked a little bit about David, but what is your kind of path that brought you to do what you're doing now?
I actually had a 50-50 chance of getting into design because I was applying at Design University, but also I was applying for theater.
Interesting.
Basically script writing, which was very different, I guess, a very different outcome. So we're happy that I made it into design. And then I basically studied, and I started working in advertising. So I'm definitely coming from a very commercial background, but then switched quite quickly to design only. Of course, still with commercial clients, but more and more cultural stuff. And then I realized that actually the best projects are those that you just start yourself and that are kind of self-initiated.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So a lot of projects actually happened, like also, as you mentioned before, the radio platform of 100. We have book projects, we have exhibition projects, stuff like that, where it's really like we are more or less our own clients. And that's kind of pretty nice.
Yeah.
That's actually very nice. So it's also kind of finding this balance between working for other people and working for yourself, and finding that balance between having complete artistic freedom or working within certain boundaries. And of course, like both can be very interesting and rewarding. So I think it's really having that kind of mix and focusing on what we actually really want to work on and want to spend our time on.
Great. Yes. I think we need both, right? Both of those commercial work, which also is financially good, but it also pushes you in some other ways that maybe you wouldn't push yourself if you were not in that context. But also that creative work that's kind of just is always there asking for the limelight, right?
Yeah, I think also the work that's more fun, where we have more freedom, is not really possible without the other more, the more commercial stuff, the stuff that pays more. And by having that, we then have the privilege as well of being able to do the other kind of work. So
yeah, exactly.
It's that in the end.
Exactly. One feeds the other. So are you since you're on different locations, I guess you're working remotely, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So these days. Really?
I was about to go to Portugal last year, but then didn't make it because of Corona. So we still haven't met in real life. Most communication via Slack and Skype and whatever else kind of digital communication channel. But yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Very current, very 2021.
Yeah, very much.
Exactly. Remote working was actually cool. So we're kind of used to it right now. Yeah, no, it works quite well. I mean, it's like also keeping work quite efficient, because of course we're like chatting and we're discussing things, but at the same time only when actually necessary. So that's why I think we're also we have pretty fast turnarounds on projects, which is quite nice somehow. Of course, it sometimes lacks this kind of in-person exchange and the kind of ongoing exchange, but at the same time, I think we're pretty solid and confident in what we're doing. So it's nice to then have these kind of meeting points, even if they're only digital, and then kind of decide together which direction we further shape the project in. And working pretty well so far.
Wonderful. Well, I hope this collaboration will only grow and you'll do more and more bigger and more interesting things. So I wanted to ask a little bit, since you've already kind of experimenting with augmented reality, and I feel in general your style calls for very sort of futuristic projects. So if we would step back a little bit and say, okay, well, what is this next generation brand or the brand of the future? How would you see that? What do you think
that
should
with
be the
augmented reality?
Well, it doesn't matter whether it's augmented reality. Sort of in generally, the brand of the future. What should be the qualities of it? What kind of any brand that would call itself modern and forward-looking. What do you think should be those qualities?
I think it kind of has to be fluid in a way of like. Of course, there have to be like certain, let's say, fixed elements or elements that are consistent and kept the same, so that kind of people can recognize it. But at the same time, with the rise of new technologies, of new channels, of new media, I think it's more important than ever before that a brand is kind of flexible and can kind of adapt to that progress, while at the same time having that recognizable feeling, or where people can definitely see a brand no matter how it's then visually presented, kind of. But to create a brand that has I would say a comprehensive toolkit with elements that you can like play with depending on how much space you actually have. I mean, even if you were like designing for a phone, for example, it's so different to designing for a computer, and that will change a lot more in the future probably. So I think it's a lot about not thinking in sizes or thinking in media. I think I stopped saying that a brand has to have this kind of comprehensive toolkit where you can pick elements depending on what kind of media or channel you're basically designing for then in the end. So I think a brand has to be flexible, it has to be modular, and at the same time have this kind of strong visual center point that you can always then refer back to.
Yeah, just before Max said fluid, I was thinking flexible as well. Especially when you talk about augmented reality, I wrote my bachelor thesis on that. And when I was doing my research, there were all these predictions that it would be within 5 to 10 years, it would be like augmented reality would replace smartphones, and it would be as normal to us as using a smartphone. And I don't know if the pandemic changed any of those predictions or whatever. But for a brand, you never know what the hardware is gonna be like, or what the formats are gonna be like. So I guess the one thing you need is that one, the identity has to be recognizable regardless of where it's presented. And even if it's something that we know, like a laptop or a smartphone, or something that we don't know as much, like augmented reality or smart glasses for the future, 2D, 3D, all of that has to be, it has to be like, there has to be a certain link that connects all those together.
Great. And if there was like one thing that you would, in the ideal world, would love to eliminate in the designer's life, let's say, sort of in the day-to-day life of a designer, what would that be?
Oh, well.
Good question. I'm not using them, but handmade fonts or like brush fonts.
Oh, wow.
I would eliminate those, but
I was thinking more like when you're speaking to a client and you're showing stuff that you did and they know exactly what they want, but they can't explain it to you. And so you have this
that's the problem.
guessing game, trying to figure out what they want, trying to show them examples. But yeah, I guess, brush fonts is also a good one.
I mean, that's sometimes a funny thing actually, because I mostly do the kind of client communication. So I often feel like kind of a translator or interpreter for like between client and David somehow. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting position too.
And I'm so grateful that he does that.
Yeah, you
like annoying away.
Yeah, it requires a lot of patience, because clients sometimes don't know the words, right, that they should use to describe. This is, I think, the problem that most of us experience, that communication and being understood in the right way, and having the client having the right words to tell what they want. And so if you just one last question, if you had to share, let's say, to the designers who are looking at your work and really admiring your work, and it's an aspiring designer who is still building up his or her skill set, what would be some tips that you would give to encourage that person to grow in the career as a designer?
I would say don't wait for the perfect client, but be your own client and kind of start your own projects. And because then you can really do whatever you want and then show that project to potential clients and basically put yourself out there and present yourself. So I think for everybody starting in the field of design, that's quite helpful. And instead of waiting for a client to come or a project to start, just do it yourself.
Yeah, I'd suggest, in terms of your portfolio as well, show the things or show the work that you want to be doing. Because if you keep showing that, and if it's good, then people eventually come to you for that type of work. And I think this is such a great, for me, it's such a great job to have, because I get to do stuff that I like. And if I were doing boring corporate stuff every day, I feel like I would see my life flashing before my eyes. I don't know. It would feel like, to me, like a bit of a waste of what I'm doing with my time. I just suggest do the work that you like and show that type of work, so that eventually people will come to you. Job proposals for that kind of work. I think that's how you can get a good career and also be fulfilled in life.
Great tip. I will add +1 to this as well. All right. Well, I don't have any more questions. Thank you so much for your time.
Perfect. Thanks for your time too. Thanks for the questions also.
Hello, Tom again. Wow, so that was super interesting to hear about pushing the boundaries of design, using new media for a new world, but forgetting the limitations that we both put on ourselves and the limitations that are put on us, and how the journeys of designers aren't as linear as you might imagine. How did you guys find that? We want to hear from you in the comments. If there's any thoughts you had, a response to something Max or David talked about, or a question for them, please send it through. Thanks for listening this episode, and can't wait to share with you guys the July Rewind. It will be out very soon. Got some really interesting ideas that have been flying around this month. Thank you very much, Gen XXL crew. See you soon.
Next generation ideas.